Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC back again with LEGO Transformers Optimus Prime. Of course, it was only a matter of time before I tackled Optimus in my series of reimaginings. He's such an undeniable icon, and there's no world where I left him out of my take on Transformers. So here we have him in his fire truck mode. Yes, I'm a big believer in Fire Truck Prime supremacy. I think it suits his heroic nature far better than a basic semi. In this case, Prime becomes quite the stout fire truck. Dare I say, it's almost stubby. I can imagine it may be too goofy for some people, but honestly, I find it charming. I especially enjoy how dense it makes him feel, and it reminds me of how Fall of Cybertron Optimus was described as a fist on wheels. It's a very cartoony alt mode, which is the vibe I've generally been trying to go for with my Autobots, so I think it fits. Up front, the cab uses mostly basic brick building. There's some snot used to give him a black bumper and 4 headlights, but for the most part it's classic brick-based construction. Like all my Autobots, Prime uses transparent windscreens. There's no room for a minifigure to sit behind them, but at the very least, the robot junk taking up that space is mostly subtle. Behind the cab, there's a set of light bars, and on the side some gray tanks. Up top, there is a ladder, which is able to articulate. The back is where things admittedly start to fall apart. There's some tail lights, but other than that, it's all kinda just robot junk. Unfortunately, there wasn't a great way to hide it all away without adding a bunch of kibble to his robot mode. All 6 of Prime's wheels spin freely, making him a joy to roll around. Bringing in Bumblebee for size comparison, I love how the two look together. Prime is clearly a much larger vehicle, but they still feel comfortably in scale. That's all there is to say about Prime's truck mode, so now it's time to transform. Here we have Optimus in his bot mode, and right off the bat, I want to highlight how much he expands and changes during transformation. I love that he goes from such a dense block of a truck to this tall and broad robot. I've mentioned many times before that I love when a color reveals itself during transformation, and I've once again employed that trick to have Optimus's blue hide away in truck mode. I love the color distribution I ended up with, and I was able to get blue everywhere I wanted without having much of it visible in truck mode. His legs are formed from the back of the truck, with most of the actual vehicle parts folding up onto the backs of his ankles, revealing his blue lower legs. I've tried to capture a handful of classic Optimus details, like the ankle vents, flared knee pads, and 2 wheels on either leg. The back half of the truck's cab forms massive shoulder blocks, with the light bar mounted front and center. You'll also notice that the tanks from truck mode end up shoulder mounted, taking the place of his usual smokestacks. It's a simple bit of shaping, but I really enjoy the sloped edges of the shoulder blocks, as they make them a little more dynamic than basic squares. His forearms come from under the cab, with the front fenders forming gauntlets, complete with bumper elbow pads. That specific wheel placement draws some inspiration from Galaxy Convoy, one of my favorite Prime designs out there. His torso is easily my favorite part of the transformation, with it almost auto-morphing. It's not something I've ever really done before, and it was a ton of fun to design. It also just forms a really slick robot chest. I would have liked to have the side windows that form his pecs be a little more angular to help differentiate from the blocky front windows. But ultimately, I went with the simple and sturdier blocky look. His head is a relatively simple Travis brick based construction, but I really enjoy the way I was able to use a rounded 2x2 to make his eyes. You'll also notice that I went with yellow eyes instead of blue, as I much prefer the contrast. Taking a look from the back, he does end up with the ladder hanging out as some major kibble. That's probably my least favorite aspect of the design, but I don't think it's that big a deal. Bringing in Bumblebee for comparison, in this mode he's completely dwarfed by Optimus, and once again I think they look great together. Prime may be my favorite reimagining I've created. The build simply captures everything I love about Optimus Prime and truly feels like the character. I love his dense, goofy fire truck mode, I love his heroic proportions in robot mode, and I love seeing him along with my other Autobots. I consider this build a total success, and possibly even my favorite Optimus I've built. After all, I did redesign him specifically to my tastes. The one downside is that I like him so much, it's gonna be a real challenge making a Megatron that lives up to him. Not to mention the structural challenge of making him larger. But that's a problem for another day. Anyways, that's all I have for now, so I'll see you next time.